I worked driving a snowplow on the rural routes for almost 7 years, and in all that time, there was only one night that still makes me check over my shoulder when I am out after dark. I am not a person who believes in ghosts or anything like that. I am just a regular guy, 52 years old, born and raised in a small town called Fairhope, up in the northern parts of the state. I have always worked with my hands mostly. Started out in construction, then farming for a bit, and then, after my back started giving me trouble, I got this gig with the county plowing snow. It paid decent, had good benefits, and you could listen to the radio all night, mostly. My routine back then was pretty set in stone, especially in winter. I would wake up around 4 in the afternoon, have some supper, watch a bit of television, and then head out to the county garage around 9. Pick up my route sheet, check out the rig, and then I would be out on the roads by 10. My section was mostly the back 40 roads, the ones connecting the tiny hamlets and farms to the main highways. Think of it as a spiderweb of gravel and asphalt, often with more deer than cars out there. My shift usually ran until 6 in the morning, sometimes later if a big storm hit. That night, it was early February of 2019 to be exact. It had been snowing for maybe 24 hours straight, and the wind had really picked up around midnight. The kind of blizzard where the world just turns into a white blur, and you can barely see the hood of your own truck, let alone the road ahead. I remember the temperature gauge in the plow read -15 degrees Fahrenheit, not counting the wind chill. It was the kind of night where you kind of just hunker down, focus on the yellow line, or what you imagine was the yellow line, and pray your engine did not give out. I had been out since 10 p.m. and was probably about 3 hours into my shift when I hit the stretch of road near the old Miller farm. It was notorious for drifting snow. The fields on either side were flat and exposed, and the wind would just whip the snow right across the pavement, piling it up in enormous drifts. I had just cleared a particularly nasty one that was almost 4 feet deep and was barely doing 10 miles an hour, my wipers working overtime, when I saw something. At first, I thought it was a deer, maybe, or just an illusion caused by the swirling snow and the glare of my headlights. But then it became clearer. There was a figure, small and dark, walking directly down the center line of the road. No, not walking. It was more like shuffling, slowly, deliberately. In that kind of weather, it was just impossible. Nobody would be out there. Not even if their car broke down. You would stay with the car, hunkered down, waiting for help. I slowed the plow down even further, my heart starting to thump a bit. As I got closer, the headlights cut through the blizzard just enough to show me something that made my stomach clench. It was a woman, or at least I thought it was. She was wearing what looked like a thin, light-colored dress, and her hair, long and dark, was whipping around her face in the wind. The truly terrifying part, though, was her feet. She was barefoot. Barefoot, walking in a blizzard, in -15-degree weather, in the middle of nowhere, at 2 in the morning. My first thought, of course, was that she was delusional, maybe hypothermic, or disoriented. Maybe she had wandered away from a house, or she had been in an accident that I hadn't seen yet. I pulled the plow over, trying to block the wind for her, and put the truck in park. The air brakes hissed, and the big engine idled, shaking the cab gently. I grabbed my heavy-duty flashlight from the console, the big mag light that could practically double as a club, and started to open my door. Before I could even swing my leg out, she turned her head. I could not make out her features clearly through the snow, but I could feel her eyes on me, even through the swirling white. It was a strange feeling, like a cold hand on my chest, even though she was still a good 50 feet away. She raised her arm then, slowly, deliberately, and pointed. Not at me, not at my truck. She pointed straight ahead, down the road, to where the blizzard was thickest, to the deepest, darkest part of the storm. I remember thinking, what in the world? Is she pointing to a house? Is she pointing to something I haven't seen? Before I could even process it fully, before I could step out of the truck, she just vanished. Not like she ran, not like she got blown away by the wind. She just disappeared. 1 second she was there, standing on the center line, pointing. The next second she was gone, swallowed by the snow as if she had never been there at all. I stood there for a good long minute, my hand still on the door handle, just staring into the whiteout. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of what I had seen. Maybe she had just drifted behind a snowdrift really quickly. Maybe it was the light playing tricks. I am a rational man. I have seen strange things out on those roads, but never anything like that. A woman barefoot in a dress in a blizzard just vanishing. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature outside the truck. My instincts, the ones that had kept me safe for years on these lonely roads, were screaming at me, "Go, just go." But the image of her pointing, that really stuck with me. She had pointed ahead, and despite everything I was feeling, I had an obligation. My job was to clear the roads, and if there was trouble ahead, I needed to check it out. So, I closed my door, took a deep breath, and put the plow back in drive. I crept forward, maybe 5 miles an hour, my eyes straining to see anything in the near zero visibility. The snow was still coming down in sheets, and the wind howled around the cab, making the whole truck rattle. I probably went another quarter mile, maybe a little more, focusing on where she had pointed, even though I knew how ridiculous that sounded. Then I saw it, just a dark shape, mostly buried in a fresh drift, off to the right side of the road, close to the ditch. It was a car, an ordinary sedan, half submerged in snow, with its front end pointing down into the ditch. The snow had piled up so quickly that it had almost completely covered it, and if I hadn't been going so slow, and if I hadn't been looking specifically for something after what I had seen, I would have driven right past it without a clue. My heart rate jumped to about 180. This was it. This was why she had been there. I stopped the plow, engaged the parking brake, and this time I flung the door open and jumped out. The cold hit me like a physical blow, sucking the air right out of my lungs. I grabbed my flashlight and stumbled through the deep snow towards the car. As I got closer, I could see fresh snow almost completely covering the windshield. There was no sign of damage, no broken glass, just a car that had somehow quietly slipped off the road and become buried. I tried the driver's side door, but it was jammed solid with snow and ice. I moved to the passenger side, digging at the snow with my gloved hands, my breath coming out in ragged clouds. Finally, with a grunt, I managed to yank the passenger door open a few inches. A blast of warm, stale air, heavy with the smell of old coffee and something faintly metallic, escaped from the interior. I shined my flashlight inside, and that is when I saw them. There was a man in the driver's seat, slumped over the steering wheel, wearing a heavy winter coat. In the passenger seat was a woman, similarly dressed, her head leaned back against the headrest, mouth slightly open. And in the back, tucked under a blanket, was a kid, maybe 5 or 6 years old, bundled up tight. All of them were pale, absolutely motionless. My blood went cold. I thought they were dead. I really did. My voice came out as a strangled croak. "Hello? Is anyone in there?" My flashlight beam swept over their faces again, searching for any sign of life. Then the man in the driver's seat stirred, just a tiny tremor, like a sigh, and the woman in the passenger seat let out a soft, almost inaudible moan. The kid in the back was still, but the blanket over their chest seemed to rise and fall, ever so slightly. They were alive, barely. Hypothermia. That was my immediate thought. They had been out here for hours, maybe all night, slowly freezing. The car must have run out of gas, or the battery had died, and they had just kept trying to stay warm until they drifted into unconsciousness. If I hadn't come along, if I hadn't stopped, they would have been gone by morning. I fumbled for my radio on my shoulder and called dispatch, my voice shaking a little with adrenaline and the cold. "This is Plow 7. I have a vehicle off the road, 3 occupants, an adult male, an adult female, and 1 child. All conscious but responsive, most likely severe hypothermia. I am located on Miller Road, about a quarter mile south of the old Miller farm. I need an ambulance and a tow truck, stat." The dispatcher, Mary, sounded surprised. "Miller Road? Paul, are you sure? We haven't had any reports for that area since around 10 last night." I just repeated myself, my teeth chattering now, half from cold, half from the shock of it all. "I am sure, Mary. They are in rough shape. Get someone out here now." For the next hour, I did what I could. I could not get them out of the car by myself. They were too heavy, too limp, and the snow was too deep. So, I tried to get more heat into them. I ran back to the plow, grabbed my extra blanket, and shoved it through the car door, trying to tuck it around the woman and the child as best I could. I kept talking to them, even though they barely responded, just to keep them vaguely aware. "Keep fighting, folks. Help is on the way. You are going to be okay." It felt like forever, but eventually I saw the flashing lights in the distance. The ambulance arrived first, followed shortly after by a county sheriff's deputy. The paramedics, two big guys named Dave and Mike, took over immediately. They worked fast, carefully extracting the family from the car and getting them into the warmed ambulance. The deputy, a new guy named Officer Miller, came over to me once the family was stable. He clapped me on the shoulder, hard. "Good work, Paul. You probably saved their lives out here. Nobody even knew they were gone." Family was reported missing from Riverbend, but that was just an hour ago. We figured they were just holed up in a motel somewhere. They must have slid off the road hours ago. How did you even spot them in this mess? I hesitated. How did I spot them? Do I tell him about the barefoot woman, the one who vanished into the snow, the one who pointed? He would think I was crazy. They probably would have tried to check me for hypothermia or something. I glanced back at the spot on the road where I had seen her, but of course there was nothing there but fresh, undisturbed snow. I just shrugged, trying to sound casual. Just saw a dark shape, officer. Felt like something was off. You know how it is out here on these roads. Sometimes you just get a feeling. He nodded, looking out into the blizzard. Yeah, I get that. This weather can play tricks on you. Still, incredible job. You have really great instincts. I just grunted in response, my eyes still fixed on that spot. The family was loaded into the ambulance and it sped off, sirens wailing, towards the nearest hospital. The tow truck then came, hooked up the car, and dragged it out of the ditch, leaving a raw, dark scar on the otherwise pristine white landscape. By the time I finished my route and got back to the garage, the sun was just starting to come up, painting the horizon in pale shades of orange and pink. I showered when I got home, and I tried to shake it off. I tried to tell myself it had just been hypothermia, maybe a hallucination from the cold and the exhaustion, but I had never hallucinated before, and the timing of it, the specific pointing, the fact that there was actually a family in the ditch precisely where she had pointed. It was too much of a coincidence, too precise. I finished out that winter, but I never took another night shift on those rural routes again. I switched to day shifts, even though it meant less overtime. My supervisor asked why, and I just said my back was acting up worse in the cold. It was a believable excuse, and he bought it. But the truth was, I just could not shake the image of her, walking barefoot in the blizzard, and then just gone, as if the snow had simply opened up and swallowed her whole. What makes me really second-guess things, though, is that the family in the car, once they recovered, told the police they had not seen anyone else out on the road before they went into the ditch and passed out. To this day, I still do not have an explanation for what I saw that night, and the uncertainty of it is maybe the worst part.